first installment of our divisional predictions of 2023, our fourth edition. We argued during the break. I thought it was third. You said it was fourth. It ends up being our fourth installment of divisional predictions. We go division by division. We give you first, second, third, and fourth place. We also give superlatives because we're just better than everybody else. It just is what it is. And we, of course, we do the same order. I don't know why we picked it the first time. The first time we ever did it, we picked our order, and we have stuck with it. And that starts with the NFC West. That is, of course, out west in the NFC. We will then do AFC West. This is 8 weeks in a row, starting right now, to lead us into the NFL season. Here we go, NFC West. For those who are new to the show, we always start at the bottom of our list, so this one will be the fourth place team, the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes.
We have them. I view them, to be honest with you, as a 3-win team. If Kyler comes back around week 9 or 10, like people think he could, I could see it being
they might be able to squeak out some more
7-win
wins.
team.
Maybe
a 6. I think any game Kyler plays in, you have a chance to win, and he's that talented.
Right.
But here's why I have them as a 3-win team and why I predict them not winning 6, 7, maybe 8 games, right? Is because even if Kyler comes back in week 10, they'll win 7, 8 games. But here, that's the thing. That's a big if. I don't think he'll come back. I think by about week 10, they'll be 2-8 maybe, roughly, like 2-8. I think is realistic when he comes back. And I can see the owner and the GM and the new coach. It's an entire new staff that didn't draft him, didn't develop him.
Right.
I can see them saying, you know what, Kyler, thanks for your services. Kyler definitely got a market. You cannot tell me in a league that is so quarterback-centric, you're telling me Washington wouldn't make a call? You're telling me Tampa, if Tampa's not in the sweepstakes next year, they wouldn't make a call?
Yeah.
Atlanta, if they win 7 games, they're not making a call?
Yep.
Right? So I would not be surprised if the owner says, Kyler, sit this one out. They move Kyler Murray, and they use the number 1 or number 2 pick to go get one of the generational quarterback prospects that we view as Drake May and Caleb Williams next year.
I think that's what they should do.
I view that they will be bad for the first half and tank the second half, sitting Kyler Murray out.
I think that's what they should do. I mean, they need to worry about the future, and like we said, your future isn't with Kyler.
I agree.
So here's the thing, though. Their schedule isn't impossible to the average team, but let's keep in mind the Cardinals are a below-average team.
Well,
like they start with the Commanders and they start with the Giants, which could get people in Arizona a little inflated if they were to somehow beat those two teams. Because, I mean, would it shock you if the Commanders sunk down to their level, and would it shock you if the Giants were horrible to start?
Absolutely not. I don't even know who's going to start in Arizona. Is Colt McCoy still? I have no idea who their starting quarterback is. Trace McSorley?
Very tough. I mean, it starts to ramp up a little bit with the Cowboys, and then you get 49ers, then you get the Bengals, then you get the Rams, then you get the Seahawks, battle through your division one time. And then you have to play the Ravens. So I mean, like, then that's when
five straight losses.
Yes. So when Kyler comes back, that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's 2-7 or 2-5. Sorry,
you're probably 2 yeah.
That's even if you give them the first 2 wins. I think they probably go 1-6.
And you're being inserted right into a really, really tough part of the season.
Like I don't see it happening.
No.
I don't see it happening for Arizona. Like I said, I think they probably will end up sitting Kyler out. Who knows? And from his standpoint, is he going to come back to a 7-8 loss team as somebody who's already injury prone and go get kicked around a little bit? I don't think so.
No.
Number 3, Seattle Seahawks. I think they take a step down. I still think they are. I view them as a winning football team. I think they're 9-8.
Yeah.
I do think they take a step back though slightly. I think the defense overachieved. Can they do it again? Maybe. But I also think the division is going to get better. I view the Rams as a better football team tomorrow, as long as Stafford's healthy. I think San Francisco, depending on their quarterback situation, is a very good football team. But Seattle, I think we would expect Geno Smith to kind of come back down to earth a little bit. He was good. Do I see him being the best season of his career again?
Definitely not.
I don't. I think I see him taking a step. He was a very B-plus quarterback. I see him taking a step down to maybe a B-minus quarterback.
I can see that.
And I think that's enough to cost him a win. They were 10-7. Like, I only have them regressing 1 win. It's not that bad.
Yeah, so they have.
But I think division gets better, so they drop to 3rd.
And we also have them splitting with every team in their division.
Yeah, we have them splitting, except for Arizona. So we have them going 4-2 in division. They're going to split
Right.
with San Fran and the Rams.
Yeah, so
and then they beat Arizona twice, like they should.
And I mean, their schedule is kind of interesting too. We go through it, and there's some teams or some games that could go either way, right? I mean, like, you tell me Seahawks Titans late season, right? Mike Vrabel's a genius head coach.
That's a coin flip game.
You're gonna be you got even Seahawks Ravens. A little
to me, depending on
on
the health of the Ravens, that's a coin flip game as well.
Yeah, Seahawks Browns. I could see the Browns also surprising a little bit if Deshaun's playing.
I think the Pittsburgh game's interesting. Right?
I think
don't
the
we
Pittsburgh
play
game
them?
December 31st. That's
that
a New
one
Year's
to me
Eve
is
game.
interesting. That's an interesting football game.
Yes.
In Seattle by chance?
It is in Seattle.
Right, so that's very interesting. New Year's going to be a very, very, I hate to use the word hype, but it's going to be a hype atmosphere, right? Pittsburgh, a young football team going on the road. I think we view Pittsburgh as a more talented team.
But you're going
on
the
road,
cross country.
Yeah, cross country. That's a tough game. So that's a coin flip game for me. Leaning Seattle, maybe tough to say though. All right, number 2 here. I think the Los Angeles Rams are going to be one of the more improved football teams in the league this year. 10-7. They feel like a 10-win team to me. Here's the thing: when you have a future Hall of Fame coach already as he's 40, and Sean McVay, right? A young yet already almost a lock to make the Hall of Fame coach in Sean McVay, right? Very, very good offensive mind. And you have I think many would view Stafford as a top 8 to 10 quarterback. I'm not saying he's top 5, but
when he's
is he top
on
10?
And he's healthy,
if he's healthy, he's a top 10 quarterback all day. I find it hard to believe in a coach quarterback league that when you have a top 3 coach and a top 10 quarterback, you're going to win games. Cooper Kupp's a fantastic receiver. Van Jefferson's a good 2 to 3 receiver, right? They have a decent tight end group. I think the Rams have enough talent to do it. And again, this is mostly hinging upon the coach-quarterback combo, though.
For sure. I
just can't foresee people of that echelon of talent being bad 2 years in a row like that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen all that often, and their schedule is a rather easy one outside of, I'd say, 2 or 3 games, right? I think the Bengals will be tough.
The Bengals, Ravens,
Eagles will be tough. I guess you could put the Ravens in that category, yeah. Yeah.
They'll be favored in 10 or 11. They'll probably lose one of those, and they'll win a game that they're...
They don't have a ridiculously hard schedule that I think they could fall like they did last year.
They'll win 8 out of the 10 games they're favored in, and they'll probably then sneak a win or 2 in on a game they're underdogs in. Puts them at a 9 or 10 win team. I view them as a 10-win team. 10-7 for the Rams.
Fair enough.
Finally, in first place here, the San Francisco 49ers. I think this goes without saying, this is probably the most talented roster easily in this division. You could argue the whole NFL. They have an all-pro player at every level, right? Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, George Kittle at tight end, Deebo Samuel at receiver, Trent Williams on the offensive line, Nick Bosa on the defensive line, Fred Warner in the linebacker group.
Oh, yeah.
In the secondary, you have Talanoa Hufanga, right? At every level of even their special teams go. Hasn't Robbie Gould been a really good kicker for the past decade?
Yeah, they're loaded.
Well, they have an all-pro, a first-team all-pro level player at every single position.
But where's the question mark?
The quarterback, right?
There
and that's why I think a lot of people be 11 wins feels a little bit low. Yeah, I think they start 0-2 though. They go to Pittsburgh. That's a tough start, right? I think we have them starting 2-3, 2-4, something like that. They have a very tough early schedule, and historically, San Francisco teams start slow, especially if we don't know who their quarterback is. Brock Purdy hasn't been able to get first-team reps, at least effective ones with his arm. He's got a throwing issue with his elbow, right? And Sam Darnold, right? Has he been taking reps? Either way, whether you're starting an injured Brock Purdy or a Sam Darnold, I don't love their chances in the first month or so of the season.
Yep.
But then you look at the back half of their schedule, I think we have them ripping off 9 straight to go in the playoffs, much like they did this past year. So it's not like it's a crazy thing to insinuate that they're going to win a lot of games in a row at some point in time.
I agree.
They're probably going to finish the season with at least 6 straight wins. Right, they're a good football team. It feels like a first-place team. It feels like a first-place roster. Easily. I think if they can get their quarterback situation figured out within the first 2 months, I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, like you said, opening with the Steelers is tough, and then they have the Rams, and that's the one that we have the Rams winning. So we have them splitting those 2 teams.
I think that's the one in Los Angeles.
It is in Los Angeles in early September. And then, so they start 0-2, and then this is where we see them. They beat the Giants, they beat the Cardinals, and then there's that toss-up game with the Cowboys, right? Because it's early season.
Yeah.
You're assuming the Cowboys aren't banged up yet because it's only week 5. So,
we don't know 100% what's the quarterback situation going to be.
Are people bouncing around? Because, Trey Lance hasn't looked good in practices either. So, now you're 2-2, you're going in, you're playing the Cowboys at home. You get them at home at least, but then you have to go cross-country to Cleveland the next week.
Yeah, that to me, that's a toss-up game.
And then you come home for a little bit, and then you go right back to Minnesota in the same week because they're going to come back to the 49ers practice facility. Is that the primetime game? That is the primetime game
against
Kirk Cousins.
Thank God it's Kirk Cousins primetime, but that's still not an easy football game by any stretch of the imagination.
But then you come back home for the Bengals, and then you go to Jacksonville.
And
who knows what Jacksonville's going to be. Right. Now we have the 49ers winning that game when we discussed it just because of the run game and just
Jacksonville just doesn't have
the road grade ability of the 49ers, right?
Yeah,
they're just going to run you through the wall.
the veteran toughness yet. A very young football team. Young football teams, especially the Niners, come in big, veteran, running attack, clever head coach. Like, next thing you know, they're up 10, and it feels like they're closer to up 20. You know what I mean? Like, it's like when the Chiefs are down 10, you're like, oh, it's a tie game, right? It's like when Baltimore in Lamar's MVP season, when they're up 7 and they can just run the football, you're like, okay, this game's pretty much over, even though they're up a score, right? Same thing with San Francisco. They're up 10, that game's probably done, you know?
For sure. And then 2 weeks after that, they have the Eagles. 2 weeks after that, they have the Ravens. And then 2 weeks after that, they have the Rams again. So,
it's a tough schedule, but
it's
I think
not a cakewalk.
Yeah, so 11-6, borderline to me feels generous. Like, they're going to be somewhere around 10-7, 11-6. Like, this division is going to kind of beat itself up. They're going to be roughly evenly spaced.
Yeah, I agree.
You can kind of see the standings here on your screen. We have the full list. Arizona at 3-14, Seattle at 9-8 in third place, the Rams at 10-7 in second, and finally San Fran just a tick above at 11-6 to win the division.
God, that felt good.